Hi guys, Zoe Gardner, a human rights and migration policy researcher, delivered a powerful message not just to the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, but to all Prime Ministers and leaders in Europe about the use of their rhetoric when it comes to asylum seekers and migration in general. This was in response to the news that the Tory leader was in Rome meeting with far-right groups at a convention hosted by the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Zoe pointed out how in Britain the Tories are using the issue of immigration to distract from their failures to deal with problems affecting the lives of ordinary people like housing, the NHS, schools and others. Have a listen.
To speak at the event in Italy yesterday, and the language, I suppose, using words like being overwhelmed, how do you frame his position? Because there'll be a lot of MPs back home happy that he's hardening his line on illegal immigration.
I think we all need to take serious care and serious stock of how much our conversation about this issue has drifted, right? It would be extraordinary a couple of years ago to talk about refugees seeking protection, to talk about asylum seekers taking desperate means to reach safety as illegal immigrants. It would have been extraordinary a couple of years ago for the British Prime Minister to attend what is the successor to a neo-fascist tradition in Italy, and their meeting, which includes the like of Steve Bannon from the United States, which includes the like of Viktor Orban from Hungary, which again, a far-right leader. And it would have been extraordinary to talk about sending refugees who are in need of protection without assessing their needs for protection to a country in Africa, and that being presented as something even vaguely reasonable. That would have been extraordinary a couple of years ago. And I think it is vital that we all check ourselves and ask ourselves why, when a couple of years ago I would have referred to people as asylum seekers, am I referring to them as illegal migrants now? Why am I accepting a framing that demonizes a small number of truly desperate and vulnerable people who need solutions around the world? Why am I allowing a government that has failed us in so many ways, failed us on the NHS, failed us on the economy, failed us on schools crumbling to pieces? Why am I allowing a government like that to justify its existence off the back of the extreme demonization of those desperate people? We need to ask ourselves who we are, and we need to desperately, we are in a serious point of asking ourselves who we are as a continent here in Europe. Who are we, and what will we be going forwards? Because going forwards, there will always be migration. How will we confront it? That is the question. Will we manage it humanely, or will we give in to these narratives of hate?
Two things to mention here. First of all, this very concerning move to the far right within British politics and in Europe as well. How things that used to be beyond the pale are now normal. There were, I think it was about 10 years ago when Nigel Farage was invited to speak at some far-right party's rally in Germany. Now, I don't know whether he actually went or not, but the fact that he was invited, there was a lot of criticism leveled at him because of that. Why was Nigel Farage going to speak at or why was he invited to speak at a far-right rally? That was concerning at the time. Now you have a Prime Minister delivering a speech at a far-right rally in Italy, hosted by the Prime Minister of Italy, whose roots are in a neo-fascist organization. Just think about that for a moment. How far the Tories have gone, how much of UKIP rhetoric and Brexit Party rhetoric has been absorbed by the Conservative Party. But the other issue here is the problem of how is the government able to get away with this? How are they able to demonize asylum seekers and refugees and treat them in a way that's inhumane? How do they get away with that? Well, the problem is the media. The media work hand in glove with the Conservatives, the Conservative government, to convince the public that they need to be angry with people who have less than them. They are the problem. We saw it in the 1990s. We saw it in the 2000s. The scapegoat was, of course, people on benefits, people on universal credit or whatever benefits were at the time. They were the problem. They were sucking the country dry. That was the rhetoric. Dehumanizing them. Pumping out stories through the media, fake stories about people on benefits having 3 holidays a year, or people on benefits getting new cars or new mobile phones or flat TVs. Flat screen TVs was the one at the time. Demonizing them. They were the problem. They were a drain on the system. They were gaming the system. The government needed to bring in tougher regulations to punish everyone in order to achieve the punishment of a small group of people. Now that worked for a while, the demonization of people on benefits, but it would eventually run out. The public would cop on, or the public would realize that, well, we can all end up in benefits. We could all end up in a situation where we need to rely on the state for support. So that rhetoric sort of died away. So they had to find another scapegoat. And of course, asylum seekers and refugees was that scapegoat. But you couldn't call asylum seekers, you wouldn't achieve the demonization of them fully by referring to them as asylum seekers. But as Zoe pointed out here, the rhetoric changed to illegal migrants. The term illegal, they're not illegal, they're asylum seekers. But unfortunately, the media go along with that. They allow the Tories and the far right just to describe these people as illegal migrants. The media is really dropping the ball on this. And once again, they're allowing the government to create a distraction from their own failures when it comes to the NHS, crumbling schools, whatever. And it's not just in the UK, it's happening all over Europe. Where governments fail, they find a scapegoat. And you need a robust, regulated media to push back on that, to hold the government to account. Because if they just go along with the narrative, they're not doing their job. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.